Well, the South African Weather Service has warned the public to expect continuous rainfall during the festive season and into the new year. The Weather Service says there is a high likelihood of a La Niña event leading to an increased probability of above normal rainfall this summer. This emerged during their media briefing in Pretoria on the seasonal forecast for the country. We've roped in a City of Johannesburg Emergency Management Services spokesperson, Robert Mulaudzi, as we look at the emergency services response plans over the festive period. Robert, a very good afternoon to you, and thank you so much for your time. So give us a sense then in terms of your emergency services response plans over this particular festive season.
Thank you very much, Nat, and good afternoon to the viewers out there. From our side, we have got all our teams on the ground since most of our members during this time of the season, the festive season, they don't get a chance to maybe go on leave to be spend time with their families. So all our fire stations throughout the city are fully operational, and all our specialized units, firstly our aquatic rescue unit, which is a specialized team which responds to water-related emergencies, is on high alert since we're receiving a lot of rainfall. We've got our urban search and rescue teams, which responds to, building collapse or incidents where, we have to search for, people. It's either if there's a building collapse or any other incidents which has got to do with search and rescue. And also our helmet unit also, it's on high alert. So from our side, in terms of, boots on the ground and also our team, specialized teams, we are on high alert, ready to respond to all the emergencies which might occur. Of course, now, we've got a situation where we are receiving a lot of rainfall, so we are doing our best to make sure that we go out to communities, especially our communities in our low-lying areas, to educate them about water safety, since we are told that we will have a lot of rainfall throughout December, January period.
And just speaking about the weather, we heard, of course, from the South African Weather Service this morning, also saying that there's going to be an increased probability of above normal rainfall this period. To what extent does this inclement weather, particularly when you look at rainfall, stormy weather, to what extent does that exacerbate your own operations?
Yeah, from our side, we have already put plans in place in terms of ensuring that the information which we get from the weather service, we disseminate it to our residents through our public education unit, which is a specialized team which goes out to our communities to educate them about, life and fire safety and all water-related emergencies, to ensure that they've got the necessary skills to deal with, incidences as and when they occur in the respective areas. So we are also concerned about, since that we are still going to get a lot of rainfall. So our concern is about our faith-based organizations who normally, conduct baptisms and cleansing rituals in most of our streets. Now that we have got a lot of rainfall, most of the water levels in those areas are full now. If you look at the streams like Kalfontein, Jacques and Klip Valley, the water levels are much more higher. So those faith-based organizations or people who normally conduct baptisms and cleansing rituals are tempted to visit these areas, which is a risk because there's a danger of them, being, washed away while they're conducting this baptism ritual, because most of them are conducted at midnight, of which visibility is impaired. So one might be washed away while, they're busy conducting those kind of rituals. So from our side, we have been visiting those hotspots, educating our residents about the dangers of visiting these, hotspots, especially now that we're having a lot of rainfall.
Yeah, and I would imagine it would also make rescue services very difficult in those conditions. But you talk about hotspots, Robert. Speak to us about any other high risk areas that you are monitoring, your concerns during this time, because your department is quite broad in that it has various units that look at just different emergencies. Speak to us about the areas of concern that you have, particularly during this time.
Yeah, our area of concern, of course, is, fire incidents now, at home. Young kids are at home. They might be tempted to prepare some maybe food at home since there's school holidays. So it's to ensure that our residents or parents, adults out there, they look after the young ones to ensure that they don't use, cigarette lighters or matches and lighters to, prepare food, because there might be danger of those fire incidents. And of course, our residents in most of our informal settlements, they're still using your paraffin stoves, candles, any other heating devices which they might be using to cook or prepare food. They need to ensure that those things are well looked after. And of course, our residents who are residing along river streams. And now that most of the river streams, the water levels are much more higher, our young kids in those areas, they might be tempted to play along the river streams, where there's a danger of them being, drowned in those areas while they are, playing around those areas. Most of our residents in our low-lying areas, they normally cross river streams while they're conducting their daily activities. We are pleading with them to avoid crossing river streams while they're conducting their daily activities. Instead, use the pedestrian crossings. And of course, our motorists, we will continue to encourage them to ensure that they exercise caution while driving. They don't try and force, to drive through flooded roads and low-lying bridges, and to make sure that also our faith-based organizations are not, visiting this river stream during this time. So from our side, our responsibility will be to ensure that we visit churches, we go to shopping malls, shopping centers, to ensure that we educate our residents continuously throughout the festive season, to ensure that we don't come across, all these incidents. And of course, as we go towards the New Year's celebrations, we know that our residents are tempted to buy, fireworks or firecrackers, of which we're encouraging our residents to buy this kind of fireworks in most of, reputable dealers, those dealers who have, compliance certificates from ourselves and also South African Police Service. And of course, those who are not complying, we will be forced to ensure that as and when we conduct our operations, we issue them fines and also confiscate some of those goods. The main aim is not to harass them, but is to ensure that we get into the new year safely, without any maybe injuries or people getting injured while they're using these fireworks.
And I would imagine, as we wrap up, Robert, that your teams are also, beefed up in as far as resources perspective. Earlier this month, we heard, of course, from the Gauteng Health Department saying that it has ramped up its teams, more ambulances, more boots on the ground in terms of health facilities, saying that they expect a rise of about 40% in terms of emergency calls alone. I would imagine that you are beefed up too in as far as that is concerned.
Yes, of course. We just recently received a brand new fire engines around October this year, when we were launching our a fire station and the central fire station. It was covered here on the SABC News, where we received brand new vehicles which will really assist us, fire engines which are first turnouts, which will really come in handy for us to make sure that we render effective service to our residents out there. So from our side, as you know, during this time of the season, we don't get a chance to go out there, maybe be on leave and spend some time with our families. We are on the ground to make sure that the residents of the city of Johannesburg, they've got a safe festive season. We will be responding to all the emergencies which might occur in and around the city of Johannesburg. So we're pleading with our residents to ensure that they enjoy their festive season well and look after themselves. And from our side, we'll ensure that we respond to all those emergencies. Of course, if there are emergencies, our residents, we're encouraging them to call our Emergency Management Services Command and Control Center, which operates 24 hours, 7 days a week. It's 011-375-5911.
Perfect. Robert, thank you so much for that information and your time.